Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is Elgato's Light Strip. This is a customizable RGB friendly controllable light strip from Elgato that's designed to be used by content creators, video producers, and just people that want to add some funky lighting to their office, studio, or gaming area. Now, this is a 2-meter long RGB light strip that works with Elgato's control center via your smartphone, as you'll see here. Also works on PC and Mac, and I'll show that software a bit later on, and is controllable with Elgato Stream Deck as well. It is comparable with Philips Hue's light strip, and I'll talk a bit more about that as I go through this unboxing and review video. And it's about the same length, and it also benefits from being brighter, so it's actually brighter than Philips Hue, and it has a bigger color temperature range as well. I'll leave all the specifications in the description so you can find out more about that. But what I'm going to do is show you what's in the box and talk about the setup process and what it's like to use. Now, as I said, this is pitched at content creators. Obviously, Elgato products are mainly aimed at streamers and people like that who want a nice bit of background or lighting for on their camera that can be used to present a good view when you're on stream. The main point that they pitch these lights are they are PWM, which means they are modulated in a way that they won't give you a background flicker. A lot of cheaper lights and other lighting sources can often result in an annoying flicker on your video. If you've ever done any video capture with a phone or a DSLR, you'll often find that some lights in your room result in a flicker, which can be really annoying. It's a problem I initially had when I started out doing YouTube videos, and I've learned how to counter it in recent years. And one of those is by buying more expensive gear, and another one is fiddling around with your settings a lot more. But these lights are designed to work out of the box without any of that annoying flicker, and have all the customization options. I've been able to change through the RGB spectrum, be able to change the lighting brightness and color temperature on the fly, and a really easy setup process. Obviously, being a light strip, is also customizable in that it bends and twists, so you can attach it to various different surfaces. Now, in the box you get the light strip itself, that chunky little power module that you saw there, obviously a power brick with multiple different power connections. I'm going to be using the UK plug for this setup process, but there are other ones included as well, so wherever you are in the world you should be able to power it. So basically you just need to plug it into the mains and then connect it to your Wi-Fi using the app or the software on your PC or Mac, and then you have access to be able to control it. And the setup process, as you'll see in a minute, is really straightforward as well, and that's one of the nice things about this, and it makes it a lot easier than something like Philips Hue light strips where you need a separate control box plugged into your Wi-Fi, and it's a bit more of a complicated setup process. Actually, this one is really streamlined and dead simple. Now, as I said, it's a 2-meter strip, and I'll show you what that length means in the real world in a minute, and it's quite thin and flexible and easy to set up, and a simple process here. So I'm just basically going to show you through the setup process. As I said, you have this rather chunky little control box, which basically plugs one end, you plug it in the end of the cable into it, and then the other end your power source. You'll also note there's a reset button on here, so if things go wrong and you need to reset it for any reason, you can put a pin in there to reset it with ease. So fairly straightforward. There's also a little strip of sticky back paper in here that you can attach to the back of that box and then stick it to a surface. I will note that that box is quite chunky though. It's not heavy though, so that's a bonus, but it is quite chunky, so you need to bear that in mind when you're installing it. The Philips Hue module that installs on the end of their light strips is a bit smaller, so it's a lot easier to dock into places, but it's not a major problem. I, for example, stuck that little box from Elgato's light strip underneath my desk and out of sight. Obviously, desk is one potential option. You'll see in the background of this video, for example, I have a Philips Hue light strip running along the back of my desk, but there are other things that you could do with it. It is a flexible cable with some sticky back paper on it that's easy to pull off and set it up wherever you want. On the end of that, you'll also note there's some cables coming out of it, and on the other end, which unfortunately I didn't capture but is worth knowing, is there is an adapter which essentially allows you to install extension cables so you can add extra length to this in future. At the moment they are not selling those extension leads, but they probably will be in the near future on the basis that it is possible. You'll also note as you look closely at this strip that it is possible to also cut it, so if you find that it's too long for your needs, you can cut it in various places, and those are marked. Elgato does make a point of saying that you should unplug it before attempting to cut it, which is obviously a sensible thing to do, but you do see a little zone here with an area where you can cut. So if you cut in that area, it won't be a problem. If you cut anywhere else, you might damage the rest of the circuit and cause problems, and you can see where the connection happens here as well. And you'll note that that dicky back tape comes off there, and then you can just stick it on wherever you want to. Now a close-up of the light strip itself, and you'll be able to see all the different LED modules. As I said, this is a PWM controlled lighting strip, which means that it is capable of flicker-free lighting. PWM is pulse width modulation. It basically turns the LEDs on and off thousands of times per second to ensure you've got a steady bright light and it doesn't end up causing you any flicker problems. The specs on this thing are pretty interesting as well. It goes up to 2000 lumens, which is obviously very bright, and you can adjust it between 3500 and 6500 Kelvin in terms of the color, temperature and warmth. Here you can see it alongside the Philips Hue light strip, which you'll note is a bit chunkier. I'm a big fan of Philips Hue light strips, and I've done a video on them separately, and I will recommend checking them out, because one thing the Elgato doesn't do, which Philips Hue is capable of, is syncing the lighting with your games. Unfortunately, Elgato is very much about the control from your phone and your Stream Deck and the control center, and doesn't have any syncing at this current point of time, whereas Philips Hue, you can sync it so it changes with the environment of your games on your PC, which is amazing, and I can't state how awesome that is. I've done a video on it separately, and I'd recommend checking that out. However, this light strip is brighter and it has a better range of colors. I'll leave the specs in the description so you can compare both, but basically the color temperature range of the Philips Hue is 2000 to 6500 Kelvin, whereas on the Elgato it's 3500 to 6500, and the lumen output is 2000 on the Elgato, and as you can see it's very bright. On Philips Hue it's only 1600, so this is brighter and it has a better range of colors. Obviously also the focus is making sure that it works for content creators and people that want to ensure the flicker free lighting as well. As with all Elgato products, it seems to be a very good quality design to it. It's a really easy setup process, a really nice looking premium finish as well. You're getting a really good product in the box that's controllable in a number of ways. I'm going to show you those as we go through. And as I said, it's flexible too. You can see that it bends nicely and easily. I've set it up on my desk, and I'm going to show you the process for that in a second, but you have a multitude of options for what you can do with it. Now I've got a 2-meter desk here, and just for the reference of the length of what that looks like, you can see how far the strip will go across that. It basically fills the entire thing. And you see also, for comparison's sake, the Philips Hue one at the back of my desk at the moment. So I'm just showing how you go about mounting it. Obviously you wouldn't put it on the front, you probably put it on the back is what you want to do. But if you're going to use it in the background of shots, you might want to think about where you're going to place it in your room. So if you're going to be using it on your stream cam, for example, then perhaps putting it underneath bookshelves or something like that in the background might work. The setup process is easy though. There's just sticky tape on the back, just peel that off and then stick it wherever you want to. I'd imagine you could probably get away with moving it a few times. It doesn't seem like it's going to lose its stick immediately. This is obviously going to be heavily dependent on how often you're removing it and the surface you're putting it on, and obviously over time it will see how long it lasts. But even with Philips Hue ones, I've found if you move them too much, you have to replace the sticky back plastic with some other double-sided sticky tape or something. The initial setup process is fairly easy. Plug it in, power it on, download the Control Center app for your smartphone, and this is the first stage of how I went to do it. You could do it on your PC. You'll then talk through the setup process of basically connecting the light strip to your Wi-Fi. I found initially there was a couple of problems where it didn't do it, and then I just went through the setup process again and it did it. It was fairly straightforward, basically inputting your Wi-Fi password and connecting the two up. Once you've done that, it syncs quite quickly. You'll initially see that it goes through some lighting, so you can see it brightening up as it connects. as well, and you'll see just how bright it is. I think actually the camera has done justice to how bright this thing gets, which is usually quite difficult to put across with these sorts of lights, but it is incredibly bright, and it is very customizable as well, and it also works very quickly, as you'll see when I go through this process. Changing between the different color types is really simple. On a color palette you can quickly adjust between them, and you'll see the lights react instantly as well, which is really nice. So here we are with the control center set up, and you can see there's a power button on the left, and then you have a brightness bar at the bottom, and then you just click into the color palette and you can change between them. You'll note there's options for color and white. Obviously you can just go between these different colors by swiping your finger into the color that you want. You will note obviously that the brightness of colors is different to the brightness of the whites. And you'll also find some colors are brighter than others, and that's the same for all light strips, to be honest. Other ones I've experienced in the past is a similar sort of thing. But you will also notice that the brightness bar at the bottom is only set to about midway at the moment, and it's still incredibly bright. Another thing that you can see at the bottom of this is there's a favorites option within the app. So once you've selected a color, you can set it as a favorite down the bottom and adjust that, and then you can quickly go between them from within the app as well. So it's really nice to be able to just set what your favorite colors are. Obviously you might want something quite dim for nighttime perhaps, or perhaps a nice relaxed red or something like that to chill you out, and it's going to vary depending on what you're doing, and you can easily do it from within here. It's fairly straightforward. And again, switching between those brightnesses is also easy as well. But you will notice the effect of, for example, being in blue is a lot dimmer than it is being in the whites. As I said earlier, it is possible to control the Elgato Light Strip with Elgato's control center, but you can also use Elgato Stream Deck. Now you can do this from the control box on your desk, but you can also do it from within the Elgato Stream Deck app as well. I don't have access to this at the moment, and I mostly use the hardware controls on my desk, but I wanted to be able to show that it was possible to do it from there, and I'll talk to you a bit more about that as I go through. So now here's the end result on the back of my desk, and I've set it to blue here, and I'm going to go through some other colors in a second to show you the differences between them. But you see it adds a nice bit of an extra hue to the back of your desk, or to whatever area you want to set it up in. And obviously under heavy lighting for video purposes, it's hard to do it justice. But if you're just using this as a mood source for lighting for your videos, it can add a really nice touch. If you've seen any of my videos where I've got the background lighting on with Philips Hue light strips, you'll see the similar effects, and they're really nice visuals that it adds to a bit of ambience. Now if we go into Windows, you'll see there are options here. Now I'm going to show you both how to use it within Stream Deck and how to use the control center. In a minute I'll show you Stream Deck, but for now in Control Center. So once you open up Control Center, it comes up in the taskbar, and you can see you can easily turn the light strip on and off just by clicking here. You also have a color palette in the same way you do within the app, so you're basically just dragging it to the specific color that you want. And again, there's a brightness bar at the bottom as well. You'll note there's an option to switch between the two, whether RGB colors or the white bright lights, so you can go between those, and the color variance between the cool white and the warm whites. Now I'm showing you in the Stream Deck software, so you can see on the top right I've got my Stream Deck set up with basically nothing on it at the moment, and I'm within the Stream Deck software on the left hand side, and you can basically drag in various different settings from the control center. That allows you to do simple things like power it on, adjust the brightness, choose from a number of different color options, adjust the temperature, and set specific colors. So for example, if you want to set a color, you can go in here, and then again you can just choose from the palette. So if we set a blue or purple color here, you can click on that easily, and now when you press that button you'll end up with a bit of purple going on. You can also set to adjust the brightness in increments. So for example, you can have a button that takes 10% brightness off, and then perhaps you put another one on that maxes it out to 100% brightness, and then perhaps adjust again to do 50% brightness. And you can go up and down like this. There's also the option that I'll show you in a minute where you can basically click to set it to a specific brightness color with just one press rather than going between them. So you have a number of different options here. but you can see it responding in the background of this video, and I'll show you in a second what that looks like in reality. Well, one thing I have noticed is you can't set the color temperature easily from within here, which is odd, but that might be a hang up from the key light and it's something they'll update in future software. Obviously this is a relatively new product, and so there may be changes to the Stream Deck settings with Control Center in the near future. But here you can see just pressing those buttons going between that. The one on the right, I've set it as 100% for the lights, but then I'm also changing the other settings go between the various increments. And again, just setting specific color buttons, so you can easily press these buttons. So it's obviously a lot easier to have that control on your Stream Deck to be able to just press and change those colors without having to go into the control center and individually pick a specific color. And obviously you have the option on your phone to choose your favorites, but you don't necessarily have that in the control center, so it's nice to have it on the Stream Deck and within easy reach. And here you can see the view of in the background when clicking on those buttons. You'll note the difference. From not changing the brightness, you'll see the difference between the colors and the whites. The whites are a lot brighter, but the colors add a very nice hue to your room and end up giving some pretty fantastic results. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you found this video useful. Be sure to check out the description for links and other information you might find useful, as well as a link to the Philips Hue Light Sync one and to other Corsair lighting products that are worth checking out. Thanks for watching. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you found it useful, interesting, hilarious, or all of the above. Be sure to check out the description for other information you might find interesting, and subscribe and watch these other videos as well that I think might be useful to you, and have a great life.